We are honored to have Ann McGurty, founder and CEO of Strategize and Organize, with us today. Ann is a keynote speaker, productivity coach, organizational consultant, and author. Ann will be covering as much as possible within the hour allotted to help you use Paper Tiger and Digital Tiger more effectively. But of course, it is impossible to give every detail and address every workflow situation in a one-hour webinar. The custom details are what you need Ann's services for. Ann helps to improve productivity for individuals as well as organizations of all sizes and across all industries. Her entrepreneurial upbringing and corporate background mesh with her experience as a professional business process consultant and trainer to get the necessary results for each of her clients. And she actually guarantees the results based on the agreement you make with her before she begins. I'll be pasting Ann's contact information into the chat section for you to pick up, so contact her today to get on her schedule and take advantage of the special she's currently offering. She will give you an initial phone consultation to help you decide if Paper Tiger and Digital Tiger are the right tools for you and to decide if your office is efficient and organized as it should be. Now that's 30 free minutes to help you decide and to make a plan to get started. Ann may be in Arizona, but she is nationally recognized as an expert and works with people in person and virtually to customize a system to help make their lives more productive and organized. Ann, thank you so much for your time and dedication to teaching others how to use Paper Tiger and Digital Tiger more effectively and productively. Welcome, and thank you again.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you for that lovely introduction. And hello, everyone. Thank you for taking your time this morning for being part of this webinar. I really appreciate it, as you know, your time is the most valuable asset that you have, and making an investment in your time to learn a new process and tool is incredible growth towards your personal development. So I do appreciate it. As Janet said, I do work with people virtually, and I just got back from Colorado. So I spent the last week there, as have been living there for the last, gosh, long time. And I have lots of clients there from all different venues. I have a government contract. I have individuals that work out of their homes, and I have people who have a second home office after they come home from their day-to-day corporate job. All of these people are using the Paper Tiger. So it can work for you in any, I know it can work for you if it's working for all the people that I've worked with over the years. As I was saying, being gone, one of the things that happens when you're gone and away from the office is that you may have a pile of paper when you get back because you might have a lot of mail. And as I was looking at the registrations for today's webinar, it seems that a lot of you are either new to Paper Tiger or may be familiar with it, but are having a difficult time getting started. Which pile to start with? You still have a mess on top of your desk, and you've got piles everywhere, and you don't know how to deal with them. So today, I'm going to focus in on some of the basic fundamentals about how to use the Paper Tiger. I will make some references to the Digital Tiger, but for those of you that are new to the concept of using Paper Tiger, the electronic digital piece of it may feel a little overwhelming. But trust me, it is going to change your life once you understand the basic methodology of getting organized, and the Paper Tiger tool will help you with it. I'm also going to mention, I just on a very casual note here, it's kind of cool. Today is December 12th, 12/12/12, and Janet pointed out we're doing this webinar at noon Eastern Time. So hopefully it's a lucky 12 day for something good out of those numbers. And I also wanted to mention that no matter where you are, I can help you. It's becoming quite the international world. And I've been up for a few hours here, and I've already spoken to somebody in England. I've spoken to somebody in India, and got an email from West Africa this morning. And now I'm speaking to all of you wherever you are. So, boy, Janet, has things changed in the last 10 years? Can you imagine? We are, what an international, world we are, and we can do business with people anywhere. So, anyway, I just thought that was really cool to share that. All right, so getting started with Paper Tiger. When you sign up for your Paper Tiger account, with the link that you have, if you have an account set up already, super. And if you don't, as Janet mentioned, that you can click into my link and get started. And you'll get started by having your own login so that you have your own Paper Tiger account. And it'll look something like this once you log in. And one of the things I do recommend is that you get a little familiar with what's on your dashboard here. And on your dashboard, you're going to see the announcements of what's going on in the Paper Tiger world. You can find out about your basic account information in this tab over here that talks about your Paper Tiger account. And you can go down and identify which program that you have. And there is obviously the free version. There's the basic version, and the pro version, which is what I have. The business version, you can see the difference here is that it has 10 users. There's an elite version for 30 users, and then there's an unlimited version in the larger corporations where you can call to learn more about that. Now, you can name the type of organization that you have that you're just going to call your database. You'll probably have a generic one set up when you set up the account. You are going to sign up for the Paper Tiger newsletter if you like, and I recommend it because, as Janet mentioned, we're having a drawing for a free iPad, so you'll be really in the know if you sign up for the newsletter. Security connection, SSL. You might want to make sure that you've got the encryption on all your pages so that it's a secured environment. And here is the part that goes with the digital piece, that to activate your Digital Tiger with Google Docs, you'll have to have this area connected. Right now, I am connected because it says disconnect. And if it says otherwise, you have to set it up here. Now, how this is getting set up is if you have a Google account, a Google Gmail account, it will connect with the Gmail account that you have active on your computer. I want to point out some people have multiple Gmail accounts, and the Gmail account that you identify or are logged into at the time of activating your Digital Tiger is the Gmail account that it will connect with. So if you have multiple accounts and it's not working as you expected, it may be that the signature of the Gmail account that you're logged into at that time. Again, one of the quick questions that you can ask me in a complimentary phone consultation. And there's an option that if you are in the business and would like to be a Paper Tiger online affiliate, you can certainly sign up and be an affiliate. And if you, unfortunately, think you need to cancel your account, there's that option too. Right, so that's a little bit about your owning of your Paper Tiger account. So let's go, you can also, another area is you can choose an expert. So I hope everybody who is on the webinar today is going to want to choose me as their expert. And we are going to go down to Arizona, and you will see that I am right here, and choose me as your expert. And whenever you need my contact information, it'll be available to you anytime you log into your Paper Tiger account. Going back to your dashboard, we're getting there. I'm having just a little slowness there. Okay, so going back to my dashboard. Now, when you set up your Paper Tiger account, the first thing you're going to want to think about is setting up a database. And a database is essentially your filing system for your office. So the database may be, and I'm going to call it my business name, which is Strategize and Organize. And we're going to create a new database for my business filing system. When we create a new database in PaperTiger, any searches that I do on the PaperTiger will be for that database only. So there may be some other peripheral databases, but when I go to do a search, it'll only look in this database. The first thing the PaperTiger asks you about is physical locations of items that you want to store. Now, most people, when I work with them, they refer to their files as their reference files. And in a lot of instances, that makes sense, but that's where the people get a little overwhelmed with the filing projects, because they refer to all of their files as reference files. But if you really think about it, your reference files are really something that you just want to refer to. And let's use the definition that reference files are something that you refer to occasionally. Something that if you were to get up and walk away from your desk to go look for it, it would not interrupt the major flow of your day. So the location of reference files might be somewhere a little bit further away. So let's say, for instance, we're going to create a file, a location of reference files, and we'll say these are located in the cabinets down the hall. And we might have a lot of reference files. So let's say, let's say that we have 200. So we're going to go ahead and add a location of reference files which are located in cabinets down the hall. Now, what about all those papers that are really important that you're referring to now? These are projects that you're currently working on. They're active files. They're files that may or may not come to an end, where they're projects that may or may not come to an end, or they're projects that you refer to quite frequently. So let's create a new location called Action. And these are the files that you want to have in the most convenient location to where you're sitting at your desk. So for me, they're the right-hand file drawer in Anne's desk. Now, action files, the capacity of that might be in that drawer might be referring to how many projects do I have going on. For most clients that I've worked with over the years, 20 to 30 would be about the max. I had one gentleman who had over 60, and he was a really busy guy. And it turned out we boiled him down to about 40, but that was a very rare occasion. So for me, I say that I may have 20 projects going on. So let's go ahead and add that location. Now, once you have your locations set up in PaperTiger, the next step that people get a little overwhelmed with is, oh, now I gotta set up all those files. And part of people not continuing to stay organized with their filing system is that they don't have the file set up. So they get a little busy and they never take the time to set up the file folders. Well, PaperTiger eliminates that problem. And the way they do that is that they created a function where you can print your file tabs and get them ready as part of your process of getting organized. When you are printing your tabs and labels for your file folders, the PaperTiger system is using the template of Avery file folder labels so that you can quickly and easily print out labels and put them on those little cardboard inserts that go into those plastic tabs on Pendaflexes and just get your system started. So once you get your template of the file folders that you have, then you go ahead and choose the locations that you have set up for your office, and you generate the tabs, and you will see how PaperTiger has a PDF page that is printed, and you use the Avery labels in the self-feed on your printer, and then go ahead and print off all these sticky labels. And then you go and put them on the tabs, and then you're ready to go. So once you have all these files set up, then you're a step ahead of getting organized with your filing because you have all of your file tabs ready to go. Another little tip is when you're looking at your hanging Pentaflex file folders, I always recommend that you use the insert tabs in the front of your Pentaflex hanging file folder rather than the back. It just makes it a little easier when you're going to grab that file. All right, so now that you have your location set up in your database, you've got action files and you've got reference files. The next thing that you're going to want to do is say, okay, let's attack those files. Excuse me, let's attack those piles that are on your desktop, physically on your desk. And a lot of people, in the questions that I got today was, where do you get started? I've got a big mess on my desk. So here, as I said, I went to Denver last week, and I just got back, and I have a pile of mail from being gone for several days. So let's act like I'm you. You have a pile of paper on your desk, and you don't know where to start. So I will look at, when I opened up my mail, what do I want to do with what's on my desk? So the first thing I see is I have a contract that came in the mail. And it's something that is a client contract. It is something I want to keep in paper form, and it's something I want to refer to. So what I would do is I would open up my reference location, and I would add a new file, and the item name is Denver Corporate Contract. So I'll call it the ABC. I'm going to make up the name of the company because I don't want to tell everybody what it is. Denver Corporate Contract. And the key words is it's the actual contract. And it might, so the key words when I look for something is I'm looking for Denver Corporate Contract. And why don't we just say it's ABC Government Agency. That's the name of the company. So that when I go to look for it, it's either filed under Denver Corporate Contract, ABC Government Agency. However, in Paper Tiger, we're going to put it into reference 1. Category is an option that you can identify in Paper Tiger. And in the 10 years that I've been working with Paper Tiger, I have only used this a few times. And in a little bit more advanced training, I might show you how we're going to use this. Or maybe I'll skip to another database through our time here today. The action date. So say, for instance, on this contract, and there is an expiration date on the contract, that it's good until December 31st, 2013. So what I may want to do is refer to this in October of next year. So let's say 10/1/2013. On the first of the month, I want to go ahead and I want to have a tickler pop up on Paper Tiger to remind me to look at this file. So what we're going to do is we're going to add that to reference 1. And now I have my file, and I'm going to take this stack of paper and I'm going to put it into reference number 1. Okay. Now next, I came across a receipt for something I dropped off at a consignment store for a client. And what I need to do is, this is an action piece of paper, because I went to the consignment store, I got some information, I dropped off some items for my client, and I might need this receipt in about 30 days to check on the account. So this goes to the action folder. I have a new item, and it's called Arizona. I'll call it Arizona Consignment Store. And key words is it's regarding one of my clients. So we're going to say Susie Jones receipt, and my action date is going to be on 12/24 because they dropped it off on November 24th, and I want to follow up in a month how it's going. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add that to action 1. So I take that piece of paper and I put it in that and that file Pentaflex. Another item I came across is a real estate flyer piece. Oh, and it's not for me, but it's for somebody I know who said that they're going to be looking for a house in Arizona. Well, it's really nothing that I actually have to do anything with, but it may be something I want to refer to at some point in the future. So I'm going to create a reference file. It's a new document and say Arizona real estate. And say ideas for housing. Mary is a friend who was looking for some property. And action date, it's really not that relative. So let's go ahead and add it to reference 2, and I can put away that piece of paper. So what I've done here is I've just gone through just a couple pieces of paper that were part of my mail. Now with the paper tiger, now I can put those pieces of paper away, and I can keep going through this pile here and make activity lists based on this. But I want to go back and show you something that I noticed that wasn't obvious when I was setting this up. When you're in a file, say for instance we're in the Denver corporate contract, I am going to open this. I'm not seeing my little edit. Let's see.
And just click on that box next to the number, and then there's an edit button over to the right.
I do know that, and I don't know why it's
not.
Yeah,
I'm not sure why that edit button is missing.
I'm not seeing it right now. So we'll get there. Okay, and then here's my edit. So we're going to go in and we're going to edit this item. Now, one of the things that I noticed is I forgot what I was supposed to do on 1224. So there's a function on the paper tiger called notes. And we don't see that there's a notes category here. So what we want to do is we want to go back into our database preferences, and I want to show that we have the notes screen. And you want to activate that there is an area on the paper tiger that shows our notes. And you can see now I have a new column for notes. And I can go in and I can edit this item now and say call consignment store and find out what has sold. And then I might put a note on there if designer handbag is not sold, request to return, because we know that in that store that they're going to be reducing the price if it's not sold in 30 days, and my client doesn't want us to do that. All right, so now you've got some notes on how to use your paper tiger as a working file. And I want to point something out here. When we go to browse for a file, I want to say, oh darn, what did I do with Susie Jones' receipt? And I for the life of me, couldn't remember what we called it. So you type in Jones, and it pops up that her file, that piece of paper for the consignment store, is in action number 1. And that's how you find your items in Paper Tiger. Now, if, for instance, though, you were looking for her file, and you put in designer handbag, I'm just going to say designer, it'll pop up that you have. That's a new feature that now you can find that keyword in your in the notes. I don't recall that we were able to do that a while ago. So this is a fun feature that no matter what notes you put in there, whether it's in the keyword, the title of the file, or in the notes, you will be able to find that information on that client, referring to that number. All right, so now we've got a couple of basics on how to file your action files and your reference files. One of the questions that I saw on the comments of people that enrolled in today's class is someone said, I don't want to have to turn on my computer every time I want to look for a file. And that's a great point. And in all the years that we've been using the Paper Tiger, that was probably one of the initial obstacles that we had to overcome with people, and because they were concerned about that. But it's really easy. The way to do it is that the Paper Tiger has reports. And what you can do is after you set up all of your files, and set up all your files, then you can print out a report for what you have just filed. So I'm going to go through and we're going to run a report. And I like to do it in alphabetical order sometimes. And we will run a report, generate an item list report, and now you have a listing, excuse me, of everything that you just filed away. And what people do is they print this out, and sometimes they just print it out by the individual locations and paste it or tape it to the front of that file drawer. Or I always recommend that you put it in a little folder in the very front of the file drawer so that you can just easily and quickly pull out the file index report and see what's in that drawer. As I'm going through here, I mean, I've only been going for a few minutes here, but do we have any questions from anyone that you'd like to ask about where we are so far?
And I'm not seeing any questions come through so far, but they may be in a little bit. So, okay, guys, if anybody that has any questions, please feel free to type them into the question section on your webinar panel, and we'll try to get those answered during the call.
Okay, super. All right, thank you. Okay, so now you just saw some basics on setting up your locations and doing a report that shows how to find what you're looking for if you don't have the computer turned on. Now, being the end of the year, one of the things that I often do with clients, especially those last 2 weeks of the year, when people are sometimes in their office or they've got some vacation time and they're at home wanting to organize their home files, they want to clean up their current files. And what I do with people is I recommend that they go through and inventory all of their files that they have. And you know, obviously we've got all your files set up. And at the end of the day, when you're ready to go through all your files and make a decision about what to do with them, you can run a report, and it is my favorite report. Have I ever had a webinar where I haven't said this is my favorite report? It's called the File Cleanout Report. And what it generates is all of your files. And you can print out this report and make a decision if you want to review that file, if you want to toss that file, if you want to transfer that file to another area, or just do nothing. So let's talk about this for a minute. Now, when you have a cleanout report, you are able now to manage your files without getting overwhelmed by looking at your drawers packed with files. When you're ready to go attack this, this task, what I want you to think about is, what can you really toss at this point? What is no longer required, and what is something that is maybe something that could be digitized at this point? Maybe this Denver corporate contract is something that you can transfer to a digital file. So I'm going to let you think about that for a minute. What is in your file drawers that it is taking up a lot of space, and you may be referring to it for a long time, and maybe now it can be used as something electronic? Then these are some ones that you may identify and say transfer to digital. For everything else, you may decide to do nothing and just leave it there. And some things you might want to review, and they may end up very quickly being tossed, or you do nothing with them. Once you've made a decision with what you want to do with your files, there's two things you can do with the transfer area. One is you may decide that you physically still need them and you don't want to scan them, so you may transfer them to a new location called Archive. So I'm going to go back to my PaperTiger database. I am going to create a new location, and we're going to call these Archive 2012. And these are all located in storage box in basement. And the capacity is, you may have, 100 that are going into that, that archive area. We're going to go ahead and add this location. All right. Okay, so here's the archive box. Now, since this is something where you're probably just going to take old files, you're not going to necessarily need to print out tabs and labels, because it really isn't going to have an order where you're going to refer to it. And also, you're going to have them in those bankers boxes, and those stick-up tabs are not going to allow you to close the box very easily. So I just recommend that you put them into the storage box just as they are. But let's go back to my, say for instance, that corporate, oops, I type on, corporate, and what I was looking for was that corporate contract. Say I really don't need this contract anymore. Say I actually was getting a return in the mail, and this was the final contract for saying services rendered, it's all complete. I no longer need to keep this in my reference file. I can actually archive this item. So with the PaperTiger, you choose that item by checking the box there, and what I am going to do is I am going to transfer it. I'm going to move this file to a new location, and I'm going to choose, why is that not showing? I am going to choose to send it to 2012, but let's troubleshoot that for a minute. One of the really neat things about PaperTiger is it is really easy to troubleshoot when something doesn't work the way you want it to. Archive, excuse me, 100 open items. It's all there. Okay, looks good, looks good, looks clean. Okay, so I want to go back to my corporate account, my corporate file, and I want to go ahead, I want to transfer it. I'm going to move it. And what it says here is, when people, oh wait, excuse me, we want to, darn it. Do we know why that's not happening, Janet?
I don't know. That is really strange.
Okay, all right, not a problem.
Transfer it to your reference, your action location.
Okay, that's what I'll do. Okay, so say we decided that we don't want to keep it in the reference file, but I may need to call them and make it an action file. So we're going to transfer it to action, and I might want to put a date on there that I want to do it by the end of the year. And the PaperTiger gives us a little flag here saying, do you want to confirm your confirmation? Now, if you're doing a lot of transfers at one time, you're busy, you're getting a lot of interruptions, you may want to have a yes to this, because once you take it out of here and confirm it, and you maybe get interrupted, you're not going to remember that it was in reference number 1, and the PaperTiger will not track and tell you it was in PaperTiger 1. So, unless you say remember it. So if you say no thanks, I'll remember where it's going, you better make sure you're moving it right now to the new location. And let's say that's what it looks like here. Move this item, and what it did is it took it from reference 1 and moved it into the next available number into action number 2. So as you can see, if I didn't say yes, if I said don't remind me, then I wouldn't know that it was in number 2. Well, that was in number 1. So let's transfer it again, put it back into reference. We're going to send it over to reference. Now, yes, I do want to be reminded, so let's move this item. The difference is now you'll see that there's a transfer pending, and it's still in action 2. When I go over to reference, it's pending that we're going to be putting something into that area. If you have a lot of items to be transferred and you want to print out a report, there is actually a transfer report which will show you what needs to be done. So you can take this transfer report and give it to someone, and you can delegate the project for them to move your old files from this area to this area, have them do it, and know that the project's done. Another area here is that you can do an online report and look at what your confirmations are, see what needs to be moved, and once you check it, here you confirm that it's done, and it'll no longer show that you have these items pending to be transferred. Okay, you can see how they're all here exactly as you wanted, from action back into reference. All right, so that's how you use some of the basics of setting up new locations, adding files, and reviewing the files that you have so you can reference them, and also how to transfer them once you decide you want them to be in a new location. Now, one of the things I want to jump to is, say for instance, in that report, you decided that you wanted to scan some materials, or you have the frustration sometimes of realizing people sent you emails and they've attached documents to the emails that you want to save, but you don't want to print them out anymore. So you want to use a digital version of managing your files. This is where we go into the Paper Tiger piece of the Digital Tiger. What I just jumped over to here is my Gmail account. This may be familiar to some people that have a Gmail account, and this is our practice template for our webinars, and the email account is called formonicello@gmail.com. Personally, I also have one called McGurty@gmail.com. And since this is the account that is linked to my Paper Tiger account, then when I am looking for something that is stored in my Gmail G Drive, the Google Drive account, then I will be able to find those files when I search for something in the Paper Tiger. And I'll give you an example. I have a, let's get a good example. I have a book that actually just came out this week, the Concrete Jungle. And this was my manuscript for the publisher. And I obviously just kept it all online, and I never print out a copy of my manuscript. So I kept it on my Google Drive. Now, in the earlier days, what I may have done is I may have printed out copies, I may have printed out proofs, and I would have kept them in a file. So say, for instance, let's go back to our Paper Tiger, and that would have been a project. So we're going to call it an action. It's a new file, and we'll call it Concrete Jungle, and we'll say drafts for Anne's book. There may even be publisher contract in there. So those are physical things that I actually have in my action file number 2. Now, as I'm going through the publishing process, I got an email, and they attached a copy of the manuscript. In Google Drive, you can go in. I'm going to show you something here. Here's your Gmail. So you're just looking at your regular Gmail, and this is something that most people are just familiar with their mail, and they may not have even ever noticed that they have more applications that interface with their Google account. Some of you may be familiar with the calendar and the mail for sure, But the drive is what we're talking about when we refer to the Digital Tiger. So to get yourself familiar with it, click on the drive, and this whole section here is all going to be empty because you don't have anything on here. So you're going to have over here a sidebar that's very similar to what your hard drive looks like on your computer, where you have the word My Folders, they call it My Drive. And you can use Google Drive very similar to a business processing center for documents, presentations, spreadsheets, etc. Google has their own templates and workflow process that if you don't have these programs on your computer, you can essentially work with Google Drive. Now, where I said you may have documents on your computer that were attachments from an Outlook, or you may have created documents, and you want to be able to find those documents when you're searching for papers with Paper Tiger. So what you have the option of doing is uploading those files, and the Google will go to your desktop or your computer and find where you have files stored that you want to upload. When I get documents that I want to synchronize with my Google Docs, Google Drive account, I've created a folder on my desktop called Upload to Google Docs. And you know what? We should really rename that and say Upload to Google Drive. Go ahead and open that, and you'll see that I have a bunch of files in there. And say, for instance, I wanted to add this new form that a client gave me that has, it's a PDF of companies they want me to research. So I upload that file. And now it has fully uploaded into Digital Tiger. And I'll type in the word insurance. And you'll see that the form for the 2012 Business Insurance Top 100 were uploaded into my Google Drive account. So now let's go back to Digital Tiger. I can go back to Paper Tiger. When I go back to Paper Tiger, today I have a meeting with that client. And the client says to me, oh, could you bring that list of the top 100 businesses? And I really don't remember whether he gave me a form or if he emailed it to me. So what I do is I type in insurance.
Look in your database preferences and make sure you have that search turned on.
Okay. All right, I usually do. And if you don't find it right away, you go into your database preferences, and it says, no, don't show me the digital search results. I do this every time. Thank you, Janet. So let's hit yes. We're going to activate it, update your database settings. And right here, you'll see that it updated, that it has a paper search on and the digital search on. So I'm going to go back and look for the word insurance. And you're going to see that the Paper Tiger has now dug into searching for my Google Drive account and found in Google Docs the 2 PDFs that I have and my client. It was already in there, so I have it in there twice. All right? So now with Paper Tiger, you can now view your G Drive account looking at that document. Actually, the way I prefer to do it is you can download it, and you'll see that it now downloads into your computer, and now it's going to be on your hard drive, the document that you need. So as you can see, the simple version of having it on your Google Drive, using your Paper Tiger to search for whether it was paper or if it was electronic, the paper tiger will help you find it immediately. All right. Do we have any questions coming up?
Yes, actually we do. And Cindy is asking that, she says, I have several side jobs for nonprofits, etc. Do you recommend setting up locations for each type of side job? Perhaps it depends on what the physical location is.
Okay. I'm not sure if I totally understand how much you want to set up. So you have a side job. So say, for instance, you have a side job which is working at Toys R Us for the holiday. So you might have a reference file that is new, and it would be Toys R Us, and it would be keywords employment contract, and it may be pay stubs. And then you add that to reference 3, and you have your anything relative to that job in reference number 3. But then as you did that, you realize, wait a second, I refer to that file frequently. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to transfer it and put it into my action files. And I don't care about I do want the reminder. So we go ahead, and now we have an action file for your part-time job. So say you have another side job. So say, for instance, though, you have another side job, and you have a nonprofit, so a nonprofit board. And keywords are notes from meetings. You may have John Jones from ABC Company resume. You may have your expense report. And these are all the things that you're keeping for that side project that you're working on. And now you put them into action 4.
Okay, and she is maybe clarifying that question. She
Great.
says, say I have several clients that I work for at home or from home, I should say. Should I set up a location for each client? Would you say that would the question there would be, how many files would she have for each client? So does she have enough files or a different subset of files for each client that she would need a complete location, or are you filing all of the paperwork in one hanging file folder?
That's a great question, and that's a great point of clarification. To repeat what Janet's saying here is, if you have clients that you're working for, and you need to, the determination is that you may have, I used to have a client, and it was a big government agency, and I actually had several clients where there was a lot of files. So what I did is, it got to the point where it was too big. So it was like ABC Company, and I may have had Susan, I may have had the leadership meeting, and I may have had Tom's project, I may have had the coaching for Barb. So I had all these files going on in that file, and I realized I was getting a little overwhelmed. So what happened was, it made more sense to create a location, and the new location was for clients. And I defined where they were: bottom drawer in Ann's office. Capacity was maybe 25, and I added this location. So then what I did, and this is where we could use category, I created a new file for Barb Sanders, and I'm making this name up, keywords, coaching notes, and then this may be a good area where I added a new category and say Denver Utility Company. And the category is based on the client name. And then what you'll see is then you'll have all of your client files in this area. So another one may be Bob Jones, and he is leadership training. And the category again is the utility company, and then I add that to his file. So you will always be able to refer to all your files in the client drawer, and where I just clicked on category, it would list all of those in that one category together. So you may have Denver Utility Company, you may have the city, the Colorado student, like the school, whatever your different companies are, they could all be listed here. So does that answer your question? If you could just identify that on the chat, or if you need further clarification.
Yes, she says that does answer her question.
Okay, great.
Okay.
All right.
A couple of other questions. Allison has asked, is there any way to search all of your databases, or can you only search them individually? And I went ahead and answered her in the question section. Basically, you cannot search across databases. You would be able to search with only in the individual databases. Having different databases is only advantageous if you want to keep different filing systems separate, and that you do not want to search all the files in all databases at one time. For example, if you have an office database and a home database, and you do not want items to pop up in your search results from the office when you're conducting a search for an item in your home database.
That's exactly it. And oftentimes it's the other way around, that somebody's using the paper tiger at their office, and they type in the word medical, and all of a sudden their personal files or their medical history start popping up in their search, and you wouldn't want that as part of that database at work.
Right, right. Cindy had also asked, if I use the cloud version versus the desktop version, I could access Paper Tiger from multiple PCs. Is that right? Access from home and at work. And that is correct. With the Paper Tiger Online, you can access or sign in from any computer, no matter where you are, as long as you have internet access.
Absolutely. So, and also the desktop version will not interact with the digital search. So if you are thinking forward and want to go paperless, and will have a much more abundance of electronic files, you'll definitely want to have the online version.
Okay. Cynthia asked, can I attach a picture to an item? Specifically, I want to inventory fabric for a small sewing business. Pictures or links to pictures in the notes would be helpful. And of course, with Paper Tiger Online being an indexing system, it doesn't allow you to attach an electronic file. However, as you've seen from Ann's demonstration, I believe that connecting Paper Tiger Online Pro account to a Google Drive, or to your Google account and accessing your Google Drive, you would be able to upload the picture or pictures to your Google Drive account and title that digital file with the keywords that you would want to search on later. Then with your Paper Tiger Online account connected to your Google account, you would be able to search from Paper Tiger Online, and the search results will return for both your physical items that you've indexed into Paper Tiger and your digital items that you have in your Google Drive account.
Okay, here's a good example of what we can do there for that lady who just had, that was a great question. And a lot of people, are using, digital pictures to inventory things. They're using digital pictures for selling things online. And here's a case where I have a picture of an item that I was selling for someone, and what we did is we took that picture. You can upload it to your Google Drive, and here it's named this item, and now that picture is attached to your Google Drive account. And if you had paper, I love this. Oh, there was somebody last month on our webinar, and they wanted to inventory their jewelry. So the new location could have been jewelry, and they could say this was Shauna's jewelry cabinet, and we've got 100 pieces in there, and we add that location, and what you would do is you would open up that location, identify item name, and it was a okay. They may say notes, purchased at, and this would be for, and say you bought it December 2012, $300, whatever it was, and you put that note in there, you add to your jewelry case, and then when you go back to refer to it in your search, you'll see that Paper Tiger has pulled up the item list in your jewelry cabinet, and you can see that you have the description that you uploaded the picture into your Google Drive. How cool is that? So,
yeah, and let me just reemphasize what you just did, because we try to emphasize in our e-newsletters that Paper Tiger is not only for paper, and so it's for any physical item that you can put a number onto. And so Anne has just indexed in Paper Tiger a physical item that is a piece of jewelry. And so I think Paper Tiger is so awesome that it can do that, because you can't scan everything. So Paper Tiger is for any physical item. And then there again, she's uploaded the picture of that that earring and up to Google Docs or Google Drive.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And people say oftentimes, oh gosh, I don't need to organize my papers because I'm going digital. But the truth is, excuse me, is that we all will always have a need for having some kind of paper files. And you will have items that you need to organize, and you'll have electronic information that you need to organize. The Paper Tiger encompasses it all. And we are here to help you to create a dynamic work environment, whether it's at your home or at your office, so that you can be efficient and find things in 30 seconds or less, and sometimes even quicker, because it's all here. I don't have anything else to really go through with today, Janet. As we're at the top of the hour here, as we said, there's a lot more to learn, and if you want some specific help, getting started, let me know. Janet, if you just want to close, that'd be great. And happy holidays to everyone. Happy holidays.
Yeah, that's right. Diane had one more question, and I'm just going to answer that quickly. The question is, where do I find the area to change the setting to include digital search? She's checked her database preferences, but it doesn't give her that option. And it may be, Diane, if you would check to make sure that you are connected to your Google account. So first you have to go to your accounts. From the dashboard, go to the Accounts tab and click on the button in there that says Connect to Google. And then once you are connected, you can go back to your database, go to Database Preferences, and you should see that option at that time to be able to show digital results. Okay, Anne, that's a great job. Thanks again.
My pleasure.
You answered a lots of questions, and I think you covered a lot in a short amount of time, and we appreciate your time as always. Okay, everyone, I know you benefited from Anne's helpful tips, so call or email her today, get on her schedule, and take advantage of the special she is offering. This is a very small investment if you're ready to get organized and have Anne help you implement a system customized just for you. I always like to have a call to action. So first, let's decide if you need professional help to get organized, or at least to get started. A couple of questions you might ask yourself to make this decision are, when you look around your home or office, do you feel overwhelmed? Are you clueless as to where to start on your quest to get organized? If you answered yes to either of these questions, call Anne today. Next, if you answered no to both of these questions, then simply schedule some time on your calendar and actually keep the date so that you can get started. The first scheduled time might be just to decide the goal of what you want your space to look like when you're done, and what steps it will take to get to that point. Then take the next step or schedule time on your calendar to take the next step. You may have an hour a week to do a little at a time, or you may want to take an entire day and do as much as you can in one day. With Paper Tiger, you can simply start with the papers on your desk, similar to how Anne has demonstrated today with indexing her mail. Then go for the drawers in your desk and index just this much at one time. Then you can begin one drawer at a time in your file cabinet that's away from your desk. And that will, you can just take it step by step, and then before you know it, you'll have it organized. And really and truly, it doesn't take that long. But again, if you are overwhelmed, you don't know where to start, you just keep, when you get to that point, you think, oh, okay, I'm going to get started today, and then it's just not happening for you. Give Anne a call, email her. I pasted her email or her contact information, her phone and email address on in your chat section. I've also, if you don't already have Paper Tiger, don't forget to purchase through her affiliate link. And okay, and if you just don't know where to start again, you'll be amazed at how much more productive you'll be in no time at all with Anne's help.